Hey guys, welcome to Madhav, Mia, and Malik, episode 4. And today we're going to be going over the results of the primaries and the current political situation. And plus, the scene has a cute little toy plane.
Is that I thought Duck for Cover is that because Duck for Cover
No,
is much bigger.
this is from BAE Systems. I got it from their career fair. They didn't hire me though.
Yeah, call them out. Call them out.
Yeah. Yeah,
On the internet. Let them know.
yeah. I'll let them know.
Oh,
Okay, anyways. Are we going to leave that in? Is that what we're
Yeah.
going to start with?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure.
When
Alright,
this gets
so
big and I'm like hopefully at a high level position, I want that Northrop Grumman BAE Systems employee to regret not hiring me.
okay. Let's start with
Right.
Yang now. Because
Yang?
Madhav was a very avid supporter of Andrew Yang, and that has kind of fell off a cliff, so to speak.
Yeah, Madhav is now has terminal depression.
No, I mean like candidate wise, I didn't see anyone better than Yang, and he brought some like real issues to the
Wait,
Democratic.
Out of curiosity, what do you think is the most important thing like Yang brought? Which topic is the most important topic that he brought into conversation
Um.
for this election particularly?
Okay, so I would say like the role automation is playing in taking over jobs.
Okay, I know that you know that's a big part of his platform because we both read his book, but he
Right.
actually doesn't talk about automation a lot on the debate stage or the campaign stage. I'd say there's a much bigger contribution he made, which was like like how all the Democratic candidates are like, we need to beat Trump, we need to beat Trump, Trump will win the country, right? But Yang is like, sure, but Trump is like a symptom of a problem,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
like job loss and people be getting
yeah, yeah.
disenfranchised to react.
I think it's unfair to say that he didn't bring the automation part because that was like central to what the problem was, right?
Right,
And
right.
the
Even when
symptom of the problem he said was Trump. So
yeah, he said like Trump is a symptom of people becoming like disenfranchised and like feeling left out because now they're jobless. And sure, even in his book, he doesn't blame it entirely on automation. He says automation is like the biggest reason, right? Like people are, especially in the more than now.
yeah,
Especially if you remember his truck driver analogy. But I'd say more importantly for this election, right? The most important thing he said is that like Trump is a symptom of a problem, and beating
right,
him won't like solve the problem. You're just
oh,
curing a symptom.
right.
One
And
question I have overall is, do you guys believe that Andrew Yang's campaign was a success in the end of it all?
you go ahead first.
I definitely think so because he's getting candidates to speak about like say automation and like at least acknowledge the problem it's playing right now. I would say the biggest
What
pitfall of
candidate
him.
has talked about automation other than Yang?
Oh no, they have like there's like a whole question sequence in one of the debates about like automation and its effects on the economy. I mean the
Yeah, but
fact
none of the candidates like actually gave an answer about solving automation. They like
no
deflected.
no no I mean that's understandable, but like what I'm saying is that the fact that it was
The
included as a
question was
question
there in the first
sequence,
place.
right? Exactly. That itself is a big stride because no one was speaking about it before Andrew Yang did, and like he brought that onto the debate stage, onto the national conversation. And I think like we need to give him big props for that, and also the just the kind of campaign he ran. It was, this is like a true grassroots political campaign. It's as grassroots as you can get. He was like in his like exit speech or whatever. He was telling us about how his campaign for president started off with everyone in his email list and just grew from there. Like, and I mean, I don't know. This is something noble about how from like a complete political outsider, he was able to like outdo senators, governors, and all these people.
One thing I will say is
Alternate
also,
reality, Manav is a Trump voter. Like political outsider. Wow. Now,
one One thing I will say though is that automation, I don't feel that Yang was the first to do it. On the Democratic side, I do think he had the hardest line on it, but I also do think Trump is one of the biggest reasons that became part
Yeah,
of like
actually, I
mainstream
actually agree with
conversation.
Hamza. Trump
That's
actually brought up automation before Yang
that's
did.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. This is why the Democrats lost in 2016 because you guys you guys neglected the Democrats neglected the entire Midwest.
I would like to point out that
I
Mao is
was looking
being
at that.
utilized as a Yang supporter to Democrats. That's all I would like to point out.
I'm more of a moderate here, anyways. I'm a registered Democrat, but moderate here.
I'm not registered to any party. You know that
How can you vote in primaries if you're not
you
registered?
can't.
No.
I can't vote in primaries. But
Why would you do that? I think the smart move there is to just register for whatever party is having a
Andrew
primary.
Yang. No, whatever party has Andrew Yang. I was gonna, I was gonna register as a Democrat and vote for Andrew Yang if he came to Missouri, but I guess.
He didn't really get out there, did he?
Yeah.
All right.
I think the more important thing that well, I mean, I already said this, like, it's that he brought the symptoms of it, and automation sure is a big part. And I think, as far as you asked the question about was his campaign a success or not, well, I think it's too early to tell, because think about this, right? Do you guys like remember whatever like Hillary Clinton's message was in the 2008 primary?
I try to forget.
Yeah, it's too soon to tell, I think, because sure, he brought the topic into focus. The question is whether it will stay in focus. And I think the best way to see if it will stay in focus or not is that if he gets there's a Democratic win, if he gets a cabinet position or not, or even before that, if he somehow gets a VP nomination, which I do think is rather unlikely, but if it does happen, those would be much stronger indications that his campaign was a success. Because yes, he brought it into debate, and now that he's out, the goal is to see whether it stays in the debate or not.
For the VP position, I do believe that I kind of base it off of I do believe Sanders will win the nomination. We can discuss that later. But I think the lead for VP would probably be Amy Klobuchar right now. I think the way she's running, she's doing a lot better than people thought. She's not going to make it too far. I think her demise is coming soon. Not as soon as Yang's was, obviously, but within the coming months. But the way that she's able to take some of Pete Buttigieg's voters and kind of have that moderate vote, I think Sanders kind of wants that, as well as a female as a VP.
I really don't think he'll nominate Klobuchar, but I'll tell you why. Here, go first.
No,
I'll go first. Like Klobuchar, Bernie, one of the biggest things he did right was like he said like he called out all these people like for taking donations from millionaires and billionaires, right? Which is something he doesn't do. But Klobuchar does take donations from millionaires and billionaires, and I feel like you would be hypocritical if Bernie like then nominated her as his vice president if he's like, oh, there should not be money in politics.
I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys see a problem with taking donations from millionaires and billionaires?
If that's the majority of your funding, it does annoy me, but I don't see a huge problem in it. I want to see how it affects your policies, especially economic, but I don't personally have like, oh, he only takes from billionaires. I'm not going to vote for them, whoever it may be. I do like a grassroots campaign, but I do understand that it's a lot of money that's needed. You have to find some people with big pockets. It's hard.
By Bernie, by not taking any donations from millionaires and billionaires, do you guys think he's maybe polarizing that group of people more?
I don't think
his entire campaign is like already polarizing in that sense.
I feel like it's like absurd to me to say like you're polarizing against millionaires and billionaires, both from a power dynamics perspective and both from like a power dynamics perspective and both from like a outsider or like persecuted group perspective, right? Like they have all the power and they have all the how do I say, like avenues, right, to like do whatever they want. To say like, hey, we should not let them abuse our system is not like casting like unfairly cornering them or anything.
No, you're not understanding my question. So what if say you were a millionaire or a billionaire and you genuinely support Bernie and his ideals, and he won't take any donation from you?
Look,
Isn't that
there's a big difference because yes, they hold a great deal of power politically and economically. But they also have a great deal of power socially. And yet Bernie doesn't take huge donations from big millionaires and billionaires. He does take their support. That's one thing that he does. Like the founder Ben and Jerry's, he's been touring around the country with him. Obviously, Ben and Jerry's is huge. They both founders are millionaires, if not billionaires. He has their support, like very, very high support. It's been decades now, but he's not taking large donations from them. That's what
so?
the difference is.
So is so at that point, is it like just like an optics kind of thing that he won't take their donation just to say that, okay, I don't take money from billionaires and
I
Yeah,
think it
100% is
definitely
optics.
is an optics thing because I do think your argument makes sense that like if you're going to get a donation, right? And let's say if everyone had like if the donation cap was like at a reasonable ceiling, then like if a millionaire or billionaire does want to max out his donation to you and it's like a reasonable thing that like someone who's not a millionaire or billionaire could match, then yeah, I don't see why it would be a necessarily a terrible thing to take campaign donations from them, right? What it would be a bad thing is like to take super PAC money from millionaires and billionaires, which Bernie definitely doesn't do, and to get their support, support like as like touring for him or campaigning for him. I definitely don't think that's bad either, because there's a way that money can corrupt people that like supporting someone can't, right? Like you don't become in debt you don't become in debt to someone, or you don't become addicted to someone's like support of you when their support is just vocal versus when there's like a monetary incentive tied to it, because money like has a strong influence on like human psychology, right? Like um
You feel as if you actually owe them something.
yeah,
And then
that
that might shift your policies. One thing is he doesn't do that. If he's just like
yeah.
somebody supporting him, he's still going about with his policies because he knows they support me because of my policies. They're not looking for something from me. It's a big
yeah,
difference,
yeah.
especially in terms
And
of
that's also
optics.
why, like, when he said, like, when he like commented on Yang's canceling his presidency bid, his thing was like, "Thank you for having an issue-driven campaign," which is like which is also one of the reasons why I liked Yang. Like, so few people, so many of the Democratic nominees play identity politics instead of like focusing on issues, and Bernie recognizes that, and I think that's like
Yeah.
a big.
Another, like, see, Tulsi Gabbard also is running like an issue-based campaign. But
Okay.
just like speaking
Tulsi
about,
Gabbard also like goes on Fox News and talks shit about every Democrat ever. Tulsi Gabbard isn't in this to win the presidential nomination. She's in this to get a show on Fox News.
She's still in this. Interesting.
yeah.
Tulsi
Um,
Gabbard also voted not present at the House impeachment. Like
Yeah.
this woman is not defensible.
she endorsed Bernie in 2016.
Okay, well, in 2020, she voted she voted not present at the impeachment, which should make her not present in the Democratic Party.
Jesus, that's so polar. Oh, that's really polarizing to see.
No. Tell me.
No,
Can you defend
why did
can you
why
defend her
why
position to vote not present at the
no,
impeachment?
no, why does it have to be partisan? Is my question. She might have voted like not present, or like may have, uh, but whether she voted not present or no, you can say that, okay, because she voted not present, she can't be part of the Democratic Party. That's so
Why can I
partisan.
not say that? Why should the party allow people who are not for the rule of law into the party? That is like that makes no sense.
Wait, let me qualify that. Do I think she has an obligation to vote that Trump is guilty or we should hold impeachment? No. Do I think she has an obligation to at least show what her true beliefs are? Yes. Voting present for an impeachment trial, I feel, is a waste of a vote and a waste um, for her voters to actually understand where she's sitting, because she's not only representing herself, she's representing her constituents. So I just think that's a waste of a vote. Do I think we
Can
should
you
kick her out the
explain?
Democratic Party? That's different.
Can you explain why you think she should not have voted yes as opposed to like not present or no? Why she doesn't have that obligation?
No, I'm
Look,
sure.
depending on what she saw from the trial, depending on what she saw from that, she obviously knew more than we do. She was there, she was present, she had as
The
much
trials
information
are
as
open.
anybody.
We can go review them all we want. Like it's not like the trial was like, oh, maybe he might be guilty, maybe he not. And remember, the House votes on accusing the president, not like saying
Yeah,
like
I know.
so to present that the evidence or to suggest that the evidence shown at the trial was not enough to accuse him
No,
for impeachment was like
that was
like an indefensible argument.
no, that was not her stance. Like, you guys should look into
No,
why
I
she
know her
voted.
stance. She said it was too polarized and partisan, so she didn't want to vote, which is a
Yeah.
complete garbage argument because it's not partisan because Democrats are doing this for their like own political benefit. There's a very legitimate argument, right? You can say, sure, it is fully impossible to deny that Democrats had nothing to gain from this politically. Of course they had, right? But
No,
you cannot deny that there was not enough evidence to say that, oh, this impeachment should go forward.
That's what the Republicans were running on, though. That's
But
what they
no.
believed.
But this isn't something you can like argue. This is like facts, right? Like
Look, that's
this
obviously
isn't like
not facts,
this
as
is
the
like a
Republicans were running
subjective
on
thing.
this.
Just because
It was very subjective.
someone suggests something subjective is a fact doesn't make it a fact.
You stating that it was a fact.
Yeah, which is exactly what you did.
But no. If you look at the evidence, right? If you look at the evidence that was presented there, can you say like with like sound reasoning that, oh, it was not fact? It was like,
Okay.
You cannot accuse him of
Listen, Tassine,
of the charges brought against him for impeachment.
Tassine, Tulsi Gabbard also says this. Okay, this is a direct quote from her. I am standing in the center and have decided to vote present because I could not, in good conscience, vote against impeachment because I believe President Trump is guilty of wrongdoing.
So if she believed that, then why should she just not vote yes?
Because she has a reason for voting present. It's not,
which was that she didn't want it to be partisan, right? Do you see how that's like but that doesn't.
What's wrong in that?
Okay, let me give you an analogy to help you understand this, right? It's like saying, I think the evidence is saying that like someone did X, but the people accusing someone of doing X, but the people accusing of someone X has an agenda. So I am not going to accuse. I am going to cast a vote that will not benefit. That will because the present doesn't count as a yes, right? So then counts as a no. Because votes are designed, voting anything but a yes
as a no.
Does not count as a no.
So then no. Think about it like think about a vote like this, right? If you have 100 votes, right? And let's say you have 49 people vote yes, 50 vote no, 1 vote present, right? Yeah. Does that mean that means the vote doesn't pass, right?
Yeah.
Because there's more no's than yes.
No, they need a majority.
Yeah, so there's 49 yeses, so it's not a majorit.
In essence, it votes as a not a yes. That's what it is. It's not a no.
But
it's
not a yes is like a no.
I know what he's saying.
Okay, wait.
Not like if you use like I'm learning this in my digital circuits class. Not a yes is literally a no. If you go into a computer and type exclamation mark one, it's a zero.
Why are you looking at it as not a yes? Why can't you look at it as not a no? It's also not a no.
Okay, but here's my example to that. Here's my example why it's not a no, right? If you have 49 no votes and 50 yes votes and 1 present vote, right?
Yeah.
When you flip the situation,
in this case,
it's still not a majority for yes. It's still a
How many-
tie. It's
how
still
many,
a no vote.
the Democrats had much more votes than the Republicans did, right?
Yeah, but
There were
you
much more
shouldn't base
yeses.
it on that. I'm explaining the concept of a present vote in terms of a yes or a no vote, right?
Okay, forget that. Okay, forget that. Let's explore it from her perspective, right?
Okay.
Did you think this had a chance of passing the Senate at all? This impeachment query.
Does that matter?
Of
Should
course
it
it
matter?
does.
I
Yeah,
Why
don't think
should
it
it
should
matter?
matter. I don't think it should matter.
It should not matter whether it should pass the Senate or not. You should do the right thing.
On the basis of the vote is a very sacred thing in terms of should we even consider that the
Why
president
should
should
it
go up
matter if the
for a
Senate will
trial.
hold him or
It
not?
should not. Everything else should not matter. It should be based purely on evidence, and
It
that's
should
why I
be
had a problem
purely-
with the
yeah,
Senate
exactly.
trial. That's why I had a huge problem with the Senate trial because I feel if they really truly looked into it, I feel like there'd be a lot more votes for guilty, especially if this was Obama. If this
I
was
don't
Obama,
know.
they'd have a
If this
very
was
fair
Obama,
trial.
this wouldn't even be a question. He would be gone way before any of this would have happened.
Yeah.
But the fact, I don't think if Senate had more evidence, they would have voted. There would have been more guilty votes. The people who voted not to voted to acquit him were always going to vote acquit him, no matter what he had done. This is that was
It's the mindset. It's the mindset. If the mindset was so that yes, we have to like keep this unpoliticized and that we just have to look directly at the evidence, I think the votes would have turned out very different.
I think okay, that's true. If the Republicans were like, or the
If
current
everybody was,
Senators,
if
I'm not going to
everybody,
say Republicans, if the current
Everybody.
Republican senators were not were trying to be impartial, then yes, there is. I would say there is a chance that they might have voted to not acquit him, but
Yeah.
as the current reality we know about the Republican senators, I don't see any possible outcome or any possible incident that would have changed their mind.
Mitt
Okay.
Romney did it. Mitt Romney he did it.
Mitt Romney did it, and like that's good on him. But there are many other people who also should have done it, and they didn't do it.
See, the thing is, I understand that, but I feel like since he was able to do it, I have hope that others in the future may be able to do it. Especially if
I
he
don't think the
wins a
current
re-election in
would
Utah.
ever do it.
He
If they didn't do
was
it,
the face of
there's nothing that would have moved them. Maybe
Mitt,
like
Mitt
the Republican
Romney.
senators, like in the future, might be more impartial, but current Republican senators would. They're not in this for the country. They're in this for like what they think will get them the most vote, and I don't know what their internal polling is showing them that about the voting bloc that votes for Trump, but I don't see how they see this as a winning strategy, even from a political perspective.
Matter?
I was just gonna say that Mitt Romney was the face of the Republican Party before Donald Trump.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah.
It's so mind-blowing that he was their 2012 nominee, and look how they turned on him. Look how they turned on him.
The thing is, I didn't love him in 2012, but I feel like this shows his character. He was at least a valiant candidate.
Yeah.
I have a lot more respect for him, and
I
I
have
will
a lot
have
of respect for him
I will
now.
have immortal respect for
I
John
would have
McCain.
still voted for Obama if I was old enough to vote then. But like, if you like went up against like Clinton or something, I would have voted for Romney over Clinton any day.
All right, just one last question, and we'll get off this topic. So, if someone doesn't vote along party lines, do you think they should be aligned with the party?
No, it does. It's not party lines. It's about the evidence that was presented, right? Because the Democratic Party could also potentially in the future become partisan and try to protect something like through their brute force or power they have in the House or Senate or whatever, right? It's not about who has the power. It's about doing the right thing. If the evidence was like against, like saying like, oh, this evidence isn't solid, right? And Tulsi voted present, this would have not been an issue. It's not the fact that she didn't vote with her party. It's the fact that she didn't cast the morally correct vote from, at least from my perspective, that makes me think that this party should not court her support.
So your
will not listen to me. So it's not like I have a say in it. But if I had my way of running the party, I would be like, if you're not doing like I wouldn't like just because you don't toe the party line, I wouldn't kick someone out. But like on this specific vote, I would be like, yo, this is fucking unacceptable.
Yeah.
You can censor that.
Very
I,
good.
I'm going to be the one censoring that, so I'm going to need some extra cash out of this one.
We can leave it in. I don't care. Okay, but going back a little, we were speaking about like what would happen if like everyone had a reasonable set limit of how much they can donate, right? You guys are gonna groan, but guess what? That put in my head
Freedom
democracy
dividend.
dollars. The democracy dollars. Democracy dollars.
Democracy
Everyone
dollars was a
gets
very good idea. It was
yeah.
I like the idea. In fact, we had
Yeah.
something very similar. We had like limits on campaign donations before Citizen United got repealed. Do you know why Citizens? Okay, do you guys know the story of Citizens United?
Tell it for the
Okay.
viewers.
So Citizens United was like this limit on campaign donations, specifically, I think, from like companies and political institutions, like basically not like real people, I think. And it was like basically, I think it was like basically banned the practice of that we have of making super PACs now, right? And some lawyer went to court and he argued that how can you like put a cap on how much money someone can donate to like a political cause or like anything political, because someone donating is like their speech, and putting a cap on that is like a infringement of freedom of speech. And the Supreme Court was like, yo, big brain, big brain. And then they repealed Citizens United, and then the Millionaire Boys like, let's go. And now we have super PACs and uncontrolled like dark money in politics that is allowing like people, that is basically giving people proportional control of the political process to their wealth, as opposed to giving everyone like a equal control in the process as it should be in like a democratic system.
Wait, speaking of super PACs, just to put this out there and just to thank Warren's nomination a little bit more, Warren used to accept super PAC money before she went full progressive, and she distanced herself from it. Yeah.
This was brought up in a debate. She not only did she take super PAC money during her run for senator, she transferred those funds to her presidential run now. I was like, if you really were against it, the least you could do is not reuse that money. But clearly not. And then she had the gal to call out Buttigieg on his taking the thing. Like, that was like hypocrisy 101.
Yeah.
That's the only way she's going to get any popularity. Just get into fights with everybody. Then she picked the wrong fight with Bernie, and see how that happened.
I guess if you didn't notice,
I don't understand. Like, do they not do internal polling before they do any of this? Like, is this not a thing anymore? Like, before presidential candidates, sitting presidents, even like senators and congress, they'd be like, I'm gonna go do this thing, and then they ask their staffers to go like do some kind of polling internally, right? That they don't release to the public to see what they think the public's reaction to this will be. Do they just not do that anymore? Like, I don't understand some of the political suicides that are happening recently.
No, just listen. Okay, we might disagree on a lot of things. One thing we agree on is that Warren shouldn't be the primary candidate.
Oh yeah. I don't think
she's the most disappointing person I've seen in my life. She's so disappointing. I can't understand why people would support her in the first place. If you want to say that in the comments or something, or just like Snapchat me or text me, please let me know why you're supporting her.
If you like supported Warren in the past or like support her now, please leave a comment. I would like to learn your perspective.
Yeah, because like at least in WashU, the only campaign-based group student organization I've seen is WashU for Warren. I'm like, why? Like, why? What is appealing about her? Right? She's literally the more dishonest Bernie.
I would like to. I think it usually shows like that when not shows, like I think the fact that she doesn't have voters among younger generations as much as she'd like to have is like why she's tried doing that. But like, I mean, there was money involved in that process. The person who emailed you about this was paid by Warren to email you that. Like, it wasn't like, you can't say like that was solely out of the goodness of her heart.
Yeah. You know,
Also, Hamza, when you
and
came
I'm
to visit UMD today, what stickers did you see?
I only saw Yang stickers everywhere.
Superior School.
oh wow. Yeah. Um, one more thing. I was just thinking about this, right? Do you guys think that the people that were supporting Warren might be going to Klobuchar because she's
No.
the other woman
I
candidate?
think people who are voting for Warren based on like identity politics will definitely
Yeah.
go to Klobuchar. I think who are
Yeah.
voting on Warren because they are progressives will go to Bernie. And I think people who are voting for Warren because they're not Bernie will go to Buttigieg.
Everyone that I know that was supporting Warren has now transferred over to Bernie. I've yet to actually meet a person that was supporting Amy Klobuchar fully. I've seen people that have gone 50-50 with Bernie Amy or Buttigieg Amy, but
Hello, have you made the New York Times editorial board?
look, there are
That
very
was such a joke. I laughed out loud when I saw that endorsement.
there are very few things in life that I'm very disappointed on, and that's one of the major things is prior to Trump, news sources I really did trust for the most part. But I don't know, after Trump called them all out, it became like this self-perpetuating thing where they
Yeah.
just would dig themselves into bigger holes, and now I can't trust them. And I hate it because this wasn't how it was like prior to Trump, and it hurts me. It hurts me to see that they've done this to
You know,
themselves because
you
he
remember
said
in
that.
high school when we had like the free trial to New York Times?
Yeah,
Remember that? I used to read New York Times every week. And
yeah.
now I'm just like, wow, holy shit, they're like crazy. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe this.
The quality of the writing has gone down too fast for me to actually understand. Even CNN is very hard to read or watch anymore,
Yeah.
at least on domestic issues.
I
Fox News,
honestly
I
think that the
never
best
could have
like
stomached,
outlooks
but
I've seen are from freaking Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera is
You know,
probably the best.
They're so unbiased, it's crazy.
Well,
you know
they're
my
biased in the Middle
primary,
East, but
Other stuff they're biased onto, but at least on these things.
yeah.
you know my primary news source, Nature Medicine.
What?
Nature.
Oh.
Uh,
I really thought he was gonna name like the National Review or something.
no, I would have thought NPR. NPR is pretty good. They're still left leaning, but they're still good.
NPR also has NPR. Okay, if you don't read their opinion articles, they're pretty good. But whenever I
don't
see the
trust
opinion
opinions
articles,
anymore.
I get a stroke.
Same thing with Times, though. Same thing with Times. Times, the opinion articles are the ones that are.
Like I have fully like I wish there was an option like when you search for news on the internet, you can filter by opinion articles or not opinion articles because opinion articles are complete cancer.
I think they are important depending on the sourcing because the New York Times, Fox News, and all that stuff, those are pretty bad nowadays. But if you go into like foreign affairs and stuff like that, it's very important to see the other perspective. And those are usually more moderated because they actually have peer review and stuff like that. New York
Okay,
Times, you just throw up on a keyboard and they'll post it.
no,
But
because here's the thing: it's not peer reviewed. You buy an opinion article, you give them enough money, you write an article, they publish it.
it depends. It depends on the
You can
source. I
buy
know.
your way through a peer review. Even in scientific literature, right? Yeah, my old
This is
lab.
like publishing in China.
Oh yeah.
Some I swear, no, this is true. Chasine is right. Some journals you can buy your way into getting a publication, and their peer review process is like, okay, blind eye, just like take it, you're done.
Did
Not
you see
only
the
that,
check too? Did you see the invoice? Yep. Okay,
Oh,
good.
but no, but like the thing is like, I feel like among the scientific community, you know what these journals are, and at
yeah,
least for
you
me,
can find out pretty quickly. And not
yeah,
only that,
you don't trust these journals at all. Like my PI, she sees an article from any of these journals, she said, don't even read it, don't waste your time, right? Just skip over it. I
there's
mean,
this
just like
there's this another phenomena in the scientific community that is also bad for like publishing. That is like how you have to get peer reviewed by like two other like
depending on the journal.
researchers, at least two, usually at least two, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So my lab before this one, right, used to publish a lot in the physical review letters, right? And they used to call it the physical review lottery because which two like researchers you get to read your article will like make or break whether you get published or not. Because like
That's
if
true, but
you can get two people who like know your field, or like at least like willing to learn about it if they don't know your field, and then you can get someone like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is garbage, and then like just
no,
not publish.
no, exactly. So this is very true, and in fact, like there have been cases where, like, say, some lab gets wind of like you guys are working on the same thing, right? And say you send it out for review, and by chance it goes to them, they can hold it in review for a long, long time and purposely delay your work while they submit their stuff. And if they submit it to the same journal, the journal is either obligated to reject both or publish both. It's so messed up. So like that's why like at least when I'm just going through this process right now, so you can actually just request reviewers.
You can. Oh yeah, you can request to get it. Okay, I don't know about like your journal, but like for physical review letters, you can request like a different, like a reviewer, but they can like choose to deny your request.
Yeah,
Sometimes they'll take
yeah.
it. Sometimes they'll be like, nah, mm-mm.
No, so like when you're submitting, there's two portions. You can either request for reviewers, which they may not like agree, but you can definitely disrequest reviewers. Like you can say that I don't want these people to review it, and that they will abide by.
I don't know if that.
But you need to give a like fair reason though. You can't just be like, okay, no, I don't want this guy just because you
I don't like
give
him.
harsh reviews. Yeah. No, yeah, but then like there's some people like I said, when we were publishing that we know that there's another lab working on very similar stuff, and they actually pretended to like not know anything about our project and came to our booth in the conference, and like they asked about like like shit ton of stuff. We didn't know that they were working on the same thing, and like a few months later, we found their abstract in another conference and had a lot of the same stuff we told them about. And we were like, okay, holy crap. This is crazy.
Did I tell you what happened when I went to that AIAA conference like earlier last semester? This judge, right? He took out his phone and took pictures of every single one of our slides. And then he didn't give us the win. And my grad student was sitting there and he's like, what is happening here? He told us, he's like, I don't like the fact that the judge like recorded all your slides and I don't want you guys to go to conferences anymore. And I was like, all right, that's fair.
Yeah. I remember at STS too, I had like so many judges and like people in public day when like researchers from NIH were visiting. They kept like, you guys remember how I masked my gene name? Right? They kept asking for it. Like they wouldn't wouldn't stop. Michaela,
I wonder why.
And not only that, like that judge also only asked for like technical questions about her setup, and I was like,
Scoop. All right. Let's move on. I mean, you guys had a really good like 2 weeks, I guess, because Bernie's doing really well, right? So how are you guys feeling?
It's hard to tell because I feel like it really depends on Super Tuesday. Because here's the thing: I think there's two real possibilities here, right? He'll either get enough votes to get the nomination outright, or he will not get enough votes, but also will no one else. Because I don't think at this point anyone else has a chance of. If it's not Bernie, I don't think any other candidate has a chance of fully outright getting the nomination. At which point it'll be a brokered convention, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if Bernie doesn't even get, let's say, doesn't get enough votes for the nomination, but he gets like near the top, right? And then every other candidate like gets just enough for him to not like outright win the nomination. Like, wouldn't it be like suicide for the Democratic Party at that point to give the nomination to someone else?
Exactly. This is what I was thinking the other day.
Like, you cannot go to the brokered convention and then not have the person who got the most votes be your nominee. Like, what are you gonna do? Give it to someone who got less votes than him?
It depends on how close the voting is.
True.
I get
if
that.
There's someone who's like very near him, then I could like.
Yeah.
I could see it.
I get that, Hamza, but Bernie has so much political power right now because even if they're close, right, he can spin it in a completely different way, and he can say that the Democratic Party snubbed me
Oh,
again.
that's true.
Right, right.
But
And
the
entire
Democratic
progressive,
Party brought that one on themselves entirely.
right, the entire progressive wing of the Democratic Party is under him, basically. Right, and if the Democratic Party disenfranchises that voting bloc,
Oh yeah, they're
they're not
done.
winning.
They're done.
They're not winning. They're not winning. So like
They're
Bernie is
done.
in in a politically very interesting position. Like he
He's in
has
like a
the
political
Democratic Party
stable
on like
equilibrium where like you can't push him either way too much.
Look, I think the thing is whether or not I support him, I'm not going to state on a podcast, but I don't see any other situation occurring. I think he's going to win the nomination. I'm not sure
At
who
this
his
point,
VP is 100%, but I think Amy Klobuchar is going to have a good shot. I'm not sure. Maybe Warren might go into there. I don't think Yang has a shot whatsoever.
I think Yang has a good shot because
As
well,
VP, I don't think so. Maybe as a cabinet member, but I don't think so.
Because-
I don't
because-
think that's a place for Yang to be.
I wouldn't want Yang to take a VP position.
Yeah. I
why?
think Yang's building for the future. I
It's
don't
like
think
a
that's his role.
He's gonna become like Biden again, because he's gonna be you see Biden's like in the worst possible place right now because when he takes
Yeah,
credit for
Obama
anything,
didn't endorse him. That's why he's in the worst possible
Yeah.
place.
what?
No, the worst
Oh,
possible.
not only that, there's also Biden being Biden, but I think
Yeah,
one of
there
the
we go.
No. So basically, if he tries to take any credit for the Obama administration, people will say it's because of Obama and not you.
that has literally never happened.
No, okay. So he self-proclaims to be part of that, but the general consensus, like in debates too, Bernie will call him out. Like all the other candidates will call him out. That was not you, right? You specifically. So, I mean,
Who said that?
Yeah.
I did not hear that ever.
no, there was
I'm not saying it couldn't have happened, but I have not seen it myself. Because
wait, Hamza, you did say that you would reveal who you endorse in the next
oh yeah,
podcast.
you did say that.
That is true. So I will say that if I could, I wouldn't be supporting anyone. But for the past couple of years, I have been supporting Bernie, not because of of his breadth of policies, mostly because he's the most outspoken on Kashmir, and for that reason, he edges me out in terms of everybody else. Because if not, I don't see anybody that I'd want to vote for. I don't see anybody that I want as next president. I like Bernie's leadership skills, but he's also a huge populist. That's definitionally, he is dividing the country, and I don't support that.
What is he dividing the country on? Like between the
Here we go
millionaires,
again.
millionaires?
Yes, you cannot. First of all, he's splitting the Democratic Party in terms of progressives, moderates. He is the
100%.
St. Andreas fault. Like that,
Wait,
he's the
wait.
one that's moving them.
This is such a like a strawman argument. It's like saying splitting the Democratic Party because the moderates would never support him, which is definitely not like factually true, right? Not only that, you could say the same if there was a moderate person leading that. Why would that they're also splitting the Democratic Party by not courting the progressives?
Look. I don't care which side it goes to, but there's a visible split. That's what I don't like.
But blaming it that it's Bernie's fault that there's a split is like disingenuous.
I think Bernie's at the center of it. Because of him, it's not 100% because of him. There are other progressives, obviously. I think AOC has something to do with it. I think Warren
You
has something
can
to do with
blame the split that because progressives exist, there is a split in the Democratic Party.
That's
different.
The reason that view came about mainly happened because of 2016. Bernie didn't come out supporting Hillary, right? And that says something.
Bernie endorsed Hillary at the end of the thing, didn't he?
Okay. If
Bernie endorsed Hillary. His voters did not. His voters were like, nah. A lot of Bernie voters did not end up showing up to the voting to vote Hillary Clinton. That is true.
do anything. He didn't
But
actively
I think it is disingenuous to say that Bernie did not like campaign for Hillary after. He did. He endorsed her. It was the Bernie voters who were not convinced on Hillary after.
Look, I'm not going to comment on that, but at the moment, his rhetoric is not good for the party, and it's not good for America as a whole. That's why I have qualms with him. Do I have certain qualms with Medicare for All? As a concept in a perfect world, I think it's beautiful. I think it has to be taken slowly, and I think American society is not built for it just yet. I think it has to take a lot more time. I'm not sure if it can be done in American society within the next decade or so.
I
I think
don't get it.
he has good
I don't
ideas. I'm
get
not
like
sure if
why it
American
cannot be
society
done.
builds upon it. What?
I don't get why it cannot be done. Like, why can't
Okay,
there
wait.
be fair healthcare?
Because American society is not ready for that. We don't support it enough. Look, it could be great. It could work perfectly. People will still want to tear it down. That's the problem. It won't be given a fair shot in the first place.
No, it won't be given a fair shot if they do what they did with Obamacare, where they try to get Republican approval of it.
You have to get
No,
approval from both sides. That is the
yeah,
point.
exactly. That's the only way you're going to move forward, because then the next time a Republican Party takes control of the House or the presidency, it's gone.
If Republican Party wins the House or the Senate or the presidency on a campaign to remove health Medicare for all after it has been implemented, think about it like this, right? Trump won, and he said he was gonna. Not he said. The Republicans were like, "Oh, we're gonna remove Obamacare." Then you remember that whole debacle about the vote that didn't work to remove Obamacare? All they did was they managed to nurture it, and now they're gonna point at all the problems it caused and be like, "Wow, this was a massive failure." Because guess what? We cut its leg off.
No, listen to see. Obamacare inherently is a less like extreme policy than Medicare for all.
Right.
It's not right.
It's not
What
extreme
makes
anyways.
it
Let's just say that first
Yeah,
of all.
exactly.
Mitt Romney came up with the concept for Obamacare, by the way.
Exactly.
Obama just adopted it.
This is exactly my point. Like, you hoping that the Medicare for all would even get any support from the Republicans who are inherently against Obamacare.
Okay, if Obamacare did not get support, right? If the moderate option did not get support, and the only reason Obamacare was able to pass was because there were enough Democratic control in the House to pass it. Why would you at this point be like, all right, let's try this again? Will they now vote for Medicare for all? It's not going to work.
Wait, does it make sense to go even further left?
Yes.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It's not left. Okay. Hey, let me put it this: Medicare for all is not a left-leaning concept. China has a version of Medicare for all. Every right-wing politically controlled country in Europe has a Medicare for all. Medicare for all is not a left-leaning concept.
Where do you think communism falls on the spectrum?
Wait, do you think China is a left-leaning country?
Communism is inherently the end of the left.
But Medicare for all is not communism. Why are you bringing communism into this? Do you think the Chinese Communist Party is actually a communist party that practices communist principles?
It used to be.
Does it anymore?
No, but now it has certain socialist policies. It has certain communist parties. It does have capitalist policies.
Do you know any government in the whole world right now that has communist policies? North Korea does. Okay, fine, that's fair. Other than North Korea.
No, they have totalitarian. That's different. No country has it because they would have fell by now.
How can you point to any policy that's in any country and be like, this is a communist policy?
You can't tell me that China is a right-wing country.
How can China not be a right-wing country?
How is it?
Because
how is it?
Okay, it's a mixture. It's a weird mixture. It's extreme on both ends, depending on what sector and what policy you're talking about.
Name one left-wing policy in China. Name one. I'll wait.
Well, the way that they handle big firms for the most part. It is a socialist understanding.
State-owned enterprises. Do you think that's left? Okay, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, it is.
State-owned enterprises is a left-wing concept to a certain degree.
And state-owned healthcare is a left-wing concept.
No, okay. Do you know the German party that supports left, like Medicare for all, or like not Medicare, like their version of it, like socialized healthcare, government-run healthcare?
Oh,
it's called the Christian Democratic Party. That
Christian doesn't mean it's on the right.
Yeah, why does Christian mean it's on the right?
It is a right-wing party. Fine, sure. It's true that the name doesn't mean it's a right-wing party, but it is a right-wing party. In Germany.
Is it if it has left-leaning policies?
But how can you say the policy is left-leaning if right-leaning like countries support it? Just because right-leaning...
Based on definitions.
By what definition is socialized healthcare a left-leaning policy? it should not be a left-leaning policy.
How are you going to argue it's on the right? It's never been on the right.
I'm not saying it's on the right. I'm saying it is like a common sense. Like, let me put it this way, right? Do you think public education is a left-leaning policy?
Yes. Public, yes.
Do you think Republicans would repeal public education?
Well, they're trying to build charter schools. They're trying to push
But
towards
it's not
charter schools rather than public schools. So yes, it is left-leaning. It is inherently left-leaning.
Charter schools still get money from the government. It's not like entirely run by like payments from families. Those are private schools.
Yes, I know, but see, the thing is, it's the right to choice of a school. That's the right-leaning concept behind it, rather than having the government tell you which school you go to based off of districting and population size.
But
It's that you have the choice, and then you can build your own. That's the right-wing portion of it, the choice. The left-wing portion is that everybody has the same level of education, same level of funding. That it's universal. That's the theory behind it. Whether or not what party like supports it, that's different. You can have right-wing parties that completely support public education. That's fine, but the policy itself is different.
okay.
Hi, Theo. Sad
Hi,
is
Theo.
Theo, guys. He went to Jericho High School with us. He's now rooming with Mala that watched you. Great
Can't
guy.
hear you guys, but they say hi.
It's for the viewers.
If you couldn't tell from the waving, I don't know what to say.
All right.
I still think though that socialized healthcare or like government healthcare should not be a left-leaning concept. Like
Okay, fine.
in the same
No,
way that socialized schools are not a left-leaning concept.
In our country, Tassine,
What?
Medicare for all in our country, USA, Medicare
Right.
for all is proposed by which party? And
Just-
it's considered a very left-leaning policy.
It is.
Yes or no?
I'm not denying it is considered one. I'm saying it should not be conceptually
Why?
because it like
This is all theoretical stuff, Christine. We're speaking about the reality that is that a more moderate policy did not gain the approval of Republicans. How is a more extreme policy going to gain the approval of
right,
Republicans?
exactly. So if that's why I say that if they chase the approval of Republicans to pass policies like this, because on this thing, right, on most issues, I agree, bipartisanship is good, right? But if because of the track record that Medicare for all has, right, in like all these countries that implemented it,
What track records? Tell me, please.
all the European countries, China, Australia,
Where they have significant shortages of doctors, where they're still like literally importing doctors from in places like India.
yeah,
causing
you know all those doctors
there.
that China imported from India. Oh, right.
No, Britain.
You're blaming
Australia,
their population shortage on like on like this policy.
Listen, Britain and Australia had codified policies trying to import medical practitioners and doctors from India.
How can you blame that policy on the fact that they have socialized healthcare when other countries with socialized healthcare also didn't have to do the same thing?
Almost every country with socialized health.
Hungary,
Yeah,
China.
yeah.
I think you have to realize there's always a shortage of doctors everywhere.
Everywhere.
The U.S.
Not
has
only
been
that-
importing doctors for
I know,
decades now.
I know. Okay,
There are some
Not-
countries who have just been importing. Yeah, I agree with Hamza. Like just because they
parents were
import doctors
importing for
doesn't
this.
mean it doesn't work. The America has been importing doctors for centuries, and this system has been here for a long time.
We've been importing doctors from
If
Cuba
this had
for the
fixed the
longest
importing
time.
doctors problem,
there was actual policy specifically asking to import doctors in places like Australia.
in 2
and
countries out of 39.
And it's the same here. We don't have specific
This
policies
technology-
over it.
Okay.
But you know as
Okay.
well as I that we go through H-1B visa for doctors, and that's much easier.
Okay, but, no, any person who's trying to work in the United States has to go through H-1B.
Yeah, but it's also very specialized. Like my dad came on
That's
through
true.
a very specialized visa because he was a doctor, because we needed doctors.
I know, my dad's not a doctor, but he came through L1, which is even like the highest visa category. Why? It's not because he was a doctor. It's not like we're preferentially importing doctors, which was the case.
But if you were a doctor, you would be able to qualify for a higher level visa, right?
That's true. Okay, if you're more educated in trying to enter the United States, you have a higher chance of getting in.
Okay, I don't actually know this. This is a question I want to know. If you have a PhD versus an MD, which gets you a higher level, is it the same?
No, I don't know, like comparatively, but if you have a PhD, you get put on L1 visa. That's the highest category.
And MDs get on a lower category than that?
I don't know what categories MDs get, because I can only speak of personal experience, because my dad came with a PhD and like the corporate position, so
it depends on the specialization.
Or the corporate position or both, because like
no, you can do R. It's R, PhD R, and same thing with your green card. He gets placed in the EB1 fast track based on his PhD or his like corporate position. So we got a green card in 2 months.
Mm-hmm. At least from what I remember of my dad coming over and what he's explained to me, it depends on how specialized you are as a doctor. Like if you're a regular family practitioner, you probably would just go through regular H1B, which is still obviously very high up, but L1 would usually be for a very specialized doctor. And of course, specialization is very hard. It goes through 20 to 30 years of training. It's tough, but we also need them. We're not producing as much as nearly.
I don't think at the end of the day you can say, fine, US might not be preferentially importing doctors, but they have a system that preferentially imports a group of people, which includes doctors. You can say that, right? So you get what?
Wait. Okay, but this argument is besides the point, though.
Is it?
You tell
me.
Wait,
what is the point? Then? Tell me what's the point.
No, because my problem with what Tasin is saying is that he doesn't want bipartisan support for a bill like Medicare for All.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, exactly. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Like, the second, the Democratic Party gets control 2024, right?
Sure.
They say they pass the bill, right?
Okay.
The next time a Republican Party takes control, it's coming down.
No, you don't know that. So people said that about Obamacare. That didn't happen. If a bill passes and it affects people well, they will support it.
It's been gutted from the inside now.
What?
$600 million was cut from Medicare this past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's been gutted.
Yeah, but it's they can cut money, right? And if this becomes a popular policy, right? And because of this, let's say they get re-election, right? Then wouldn't that mean okay, you're aware of the concept, right? Like if a law passes and it is very good for the country, then touching it is political suicide. Even if you are unpopular at first.
Look, it depends because Obamacare
laws are unpopular at first, right? But after it passed, it was political suicide to touch it.
Well, that also depends on society.
Right. So that's exactly what I'm saying. If this law passes, if Medicare for All passes, right? Society.
It wouldn't be untouchable. It wouldn't
What?
be untouchable. It would not be untouchable.
Yeah,
society was ready for that change. It's not ready for this change right now.
I don't think you can say that for sure. Sure, it is possible society is not ready for that change, in which case it would get gutted later, right?
See, something like prohibition. Something like prohibition. That was passed at first, but society was not ready. It was almost immediately revoked through another amendment.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. You can, if society, you can tell if society is ready for something or not. I mean, sometimes you can tell. In this case, I don't think you can tell, especially that if society is ready or not. I think it is.
I think you can tell. I think it's very clear that the Republican Party does not want this passed.
Just because the Republican Party does not want it passed does not mean society doesn't want it passed.
Look, they still represent a majority. They represent a majority portion of the party. They represent a good portion of the country at the moment.
Not all Republicans have the same views. You can't say just because the Republican.
That's true.
Not because all the Republican representatives don't like it, doesn't mean their constituents don't.
Tasin,
they represent their constituents.
Tasin, this is what I expect would happen, right? Suppose they would implement the Medicare for all. The Republicans who actively need healthcare and stuff, like need significant healthcare, would see it as a boon, right?
Okay.
But then the people who don't see the benefits of it, but still are getting like higher taxes and stuff like that, are going to get even more polarized against it. You get the point.
So you're betting on the fact that more people.
But this is going to this is also going to happen on the Democratic side, though. Some people are going to get polarized against it.
Okay, but
I think it's the same thing as abortion. You know what I mean? It was passed very early. I don't think the society was ready for it, and then you saw a severe backlash. And now it's one of the most controversial topics. This is one of the most controversial topics today. I don't think society is ready to make such a huge change. Maybe certain steps to it, which I think Obamacare was a great step towards it, if it was something America wanted to pursue. But I don't think we're ready. I don't think it's ready.
I think if this passed, right? Because you guys are saying there'll be backlash, and it's true. Someone will obviously, no law is universally liked, right? But I think the number of people who will hate it will be way less, like orders of magnitudes less than the number of people who like it. So that's why I think, sure, obviously there will be backlash. You cannot avoid backlash with a big change like this. To expect so would be unrealistic. But I think enough people would like it that to repeal it would become political suicide.
I don't think.
I'm not saying that is a surefire thing, right? I could misapproximate the numbers because for the most part I'm pulling them out of my ass. But
perfect, great argument.
But the thing is, I don't see why, if the Democratic Party gets control, why they shouldn't pass it. If it gets repealed in the future, they're not going to be able to do anything about it. And I think they should at least try it. Like if Bernie wins, right? Let's say if Bernie wins, right? That's like a mandate, I
think they should go. I think they should go through baby steps. I don't think they could pass a huge. I don't think they can even draft a huge bill and not face severe consequences, especially for the party itself.
Yeah. Sure, right? But it should be like there should be like a plan where the end goal is Medicare for all, and it should happen during Bernie's term.
I don't think you could do that within 4 years. I don't think it's something. I think that's something that's going to take decades, not a century.
I don't think anything. This country is not designed to pass laws over a decade. That has never happened.
It's supposed to. The parties aren't built like that.
Nothing in this country ever has passed over a decade, other than the military budget. That has passed for many decades.
No, that passed for seconds.
Yeah, but it has happened for many decades.
Oh,
Which,
so
I mean, I am very thankful.
Talk about how ridiculous the military budget is.
What?
And the thing is, can we talk about how ridiculous military spending is in this country? And not only that it is $750 billion, that's the fact that that's not even the majority of the money. Because whenever we go into a war like Iraq or Afghanistan, they have separate funds that are funded by Congress. So not all the money that's sent into Afghanistan or Iraq is actually going through the military budget. There's an extra $100 billion, $200 billion that's not being accounted for. Actual reports have estimated that we are above $1 trillion in terms of military spending. But the American people are shown $750 billion on paper.
It's ridiculous to me. Think of it like this, right? It's $750 billion for the Department of Defense, right? But the Department of Defense doesn't work alone. It works with the CIA. It works with Homeland Security. It works with all these other. It works with even the Department of Energy, right? So if you think of all the money spent on the war effort, it definitely goes over $1 trillion. That math is kind of undeniable.
But see, even in peacetime, it's ridiculous to me.
No. Okay, here's the part where I'll disagree with you, right? I don't think that the magnitude, because it's hard for any of us to like gauge what the magnitude of it should be. What I think is the problem is the fact that you're not allowed to audit the military budget. I think the military budget should be audited, and like they should focus on spending the money efficiently instead of just like, oh, they asked for money, give them a bag, right? The military budget problem with it is that because of security reasons, they don't audit the budget as much as they should, and unlike what they're spending it on. If they audited that budget, not only would it go down, you didn't have to necessarily cut. You could still give them the same budget and spend it better than like spending it now, where in a way that it is being spent now.
I would like to make this point that Tasseen's view has seemed to have changed the second he moved to UMD, where he gets
Very
all
much.
these all the benefits of the
Yes.
government throwing money in. The government throws money at him.
I mean,
It's ridiculous
yeah,
how much money UMD has from the government.
Yeah,
And
it's
through Lockheed
crazy.
Martin, who is basically funded by the government.
It's crazy. I mean, I saw that Edward Snowden podcast from Joe Rogan,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
was like, okay, yeah, oh boy, this is like, I knew it was like crazy, but I didn't know it was this crazy.
I have no idea about any government involvement of UMD. I haven't seen nothing here. It's just rats and partying.
All right, guys. We've hit about 65 minutes. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be watching this long. So I think we'll cut it here. We could probably record more by the end of the night. So we'll see you guys later and hope you enjoyed.